Welcome to this explainer. If you think for a second about the absolute most complex construction project on Earth, it's not some massive skyscraper or a giant suspension bridge. Actually, it's us. It's human beings. Today, we're going to uncover the fascinating multi-staged blueprint of human development, looking at the exact architecture of how we grow from childhood all the way through adolescence.
25. That is the wild, surprising number of years it can actually take to complete this incredibly complex construction project. Literally from infancy all the way to full maturity. Think about that for a second. For a quarter of a century, our brains and bodies are actively under construction, building the frameworks that will support us for the rest of our lives. It is a massive, highly dynamic undertaking.
So, here's the architectural blueprint we're following today. The blueprint of growth, foundational childhood stages, the bridge to adolescence, 4 adolescent transformations, and finally, achieving autonomous adulthood.
All right, Section 1, Foundational Childhood Stages.
Our master blueprint maps out chronologically over 2 really crucial decades. Because, you see, childhood isn't just one big block of time. It starts with early childhood, so from birth to about age 5, then we move into middle childhood from roughly 6 to 11, and late childhood, or pre-adolescence, stretching from 9 up to 12 years old. And all of this ultimately feeds right into adolescence, which spans from 12 to 18 plus.
Now, in these early years, the developmental focus shifts incredibly fast. From birth to 5, the priority is really just acquiring the absolute basics, right? Foundational physical and cognitive skills like walking and grasping. But man, by middle childhood, ages 6 to 11, we are already refining those motor skills, we're developing logical thinking, and we're starting to navigate complex social rules. It's a massive leap in structural complexity in just a few short years.
Moving right along to Section 2, the bridge to adolescence. We call this stage late childhood or pre-adolescence, typically happening between the ages of 9 and 12, and this serves as a vital bridge. This stage introduces the very first signs of puberty and a distinctly growing desire for independence. It really acts as the calm before the developmental storm. The foundation has been laid down, and the site is basically being prepped for the heavy machinery to roll in.
Which brings us to Section 3, 4 adolescent transformations.
Adolescence is far, far more than just an age bracket between 12 and 18. It is a period of incredibly rapid, accelerated transformation. It's not some steady, gradual climb. It is a massive growth spurt across multiple interconnected systems. The physical body, the cognitive brain, and the psychosocial identity are all evolving simultaneously, getting the individual ready for the realities of adulthood. Okay. Let's dive into this domino effect, because these changes, they absolutely do not happen in isolation. It's a chain reaction. Step 1 begins with physical hormonal shifts. Now, these shifts directly trigger Step 2, which are cognitive leaps in the brain. That new brain power then sparks Step 3, these deep emotional quests for identity, which ultimately leads to Step 4, entirely new social dependencies. So let's break down each of these 4 pillars.
So the very first pillar of this renovation is physical, marked by the onset of puberty. We see sexual maturation, rapid growth spurts, and entirely new shifts in body composition. And the main drivers here? Hormones. These hormonal changes are incredibly powerful. As the research shows us, they don't just change the body, they directly influence behavior, basically pushing teenagers toward exploration and risk-taking. The physical structure is quite literally being re-engineered from the inside out.
Next up, our intellectual framing gets a massive upgrade. Adolescents unlock abstract thought and critical thinking, suddenly gaining the ability to view the world from multiple perspectives. But here's the catch, and it's a big one. While the brain's emotional centers are firing on all cylinders, the prefrontal cortex, that's the specific area responsible for impulse control and decision-making, is still actively under construction. It's literally like having a high-powered sports car engine installed while the brakes are still being put together.
Which leads us to a question I'm sure pretty much all of you have asked at some point. Have you ever wondered why these teenage years can feel so turbulent, both emotionally and socially? Why the sudden mood swings and those seemingly irrational risk-taking behaviors?
Well, the research actually normalizes that exact chaos. This heightened emotional intensity, the acute self-consciousness, the mood swings, they aren't a flaw in the system. They are biologically necessary reactions to severe hormonal fluctuations, combined with the incredibly real stress of totally new social and academic pressures. Basically, they're trying to find their identity while their internal chemistry is constantly shifting around.
And that internal emotional quest directly drives our 4th pillar, social renovations.
Because they're trying so hard to figure out who they are, adolescents naturally strive for a lot more independence from their parents. They pull away from the family unit and increase their reliance on their peer groups. This is the stage for exploring romantic relationships and, crucially, developing a much stronger sense of personal values and social responsibility. They're out there testing what it actually means to be an individual in society.
Finally, we arrive at Section 4, Achieving Autonomous Adulthood.
And this is really the ultimate goal of all these transformations. On one side, we have the highly dependent child we started as, requiring foundational physical and cognitive support just to survive. But on the other side, we have the fully autonomous adult we've finally become, equipped with advanced reasoning, true independence, and a fully developed set of personal values and responsibilities. The messy, highly interconnected stages we just mapped out, they were perfectly designed steps to get us from point A to point B.
As we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with a provocative thought. We've seen that this is a dynamic, interconnected, 25-year architectural process, and honestly, it is entirely normal for it to be a bit chaotic. So, knowing this blueprint, how does understanding this massive process change how you view and support the growing humans in your own life? How can we use this knowledge to foster more patience, empathy, and support for those who are currently navigating their own heavy internal renovations? Keep that in mind the next time you see a teenager trying to figure out their world. Thanks for joining me, and keep exploring.